Colin Firth, you know, is a smooth talker, even though he won an Oscar last year playing a monarch with a stutter in The King's Speech.
What'll I call you?
Your Royal Highness. Then sir, after that.
How about Bertie?
Only my family uses that.
In here, it's better if we're equals.
If we were equals, I wouldn't be here. I'd be home with my wife, and no one would give a damn.
Now he is lending his real voice to a new series of audiobooks featuring many of Hollywood's top stars. Colin Firth is here in Studio 57. Welcome.
Good to be here.
See you.
Thank you.
Despite jet lag.
Indeed.
Yeah. I think
Jet lag looks pretty good on him, I have to say, Mr. Firth. Looks pretty good.
You catch me later in the day.
Okay.
This is a great idea.
I think it's
good
smart.
actors reading good books.
Absolutely. I listen to audio recordings quite a bit, and you know, there are some people who I think feel it's cheating. You have to read, and I completely dispute that. I think that the oral tradition has been there really long before the written tradition. The stories we first heard were probably read to us before we learned to read. And I think it resides somewhere very deep in us all. And I think that the human voice interpreting it, if it's done well, is an absolutely wonderful experience.
Speaking of that, when you played the part of George VI, you had to listen to recordings because he's dead.
Absolutely, and it's often the best material I can find. If I'm playing someone who has a different dialect, I immerse myself often in audio recordings from the right part of the world. I think that there's something extremely intimate and very personal in taking that journey with one voice.
And in listening to his voice, which you did so brilliantly in the film, what did you find?
Well, I thought I'm not going to seek to reproduce his exact voice. I thought it's not necessary to do that, but I thought if I can get the information about what it feels like to be him through his voice, then I will try to interpret that through my own. So hearing his struggles, hearing where it's stuck in his throat, hearing how agonizing that must have been, and hearing the limitations. Also by his class, this rather repressed, clipped, you know, sound which cannot have helped him at all. I think this kind of very disciplined, rigid sound.
I was watching the Oscars the night that you won, Mr. Firth. Has it sank in for you when they call your name? Are you sitting there thinking, "Oh, I hope they call me"? Or are you thinking it's an honor to be nominated?
It sank in, I would say, last week sometime, around Tuesday.
Really? After all this time?
Yeah, no, I wanted to go and throw a party, and of course everyone else had moved on. So
No,
it was
no,
like Colin Firth finally
no.
gets it, party of one.
But I love that you're doing this now with your Audible books. And how did you decide? Because I understand everybody gets to pick the book they want to do. How did you decide what you were going to do?
That was difficult, because when the Audible.com people approached me, they told me they were doing this. They picked the people they wanted before they picked the material they wanted, and so it was up to us.
And you chose what
that's
and why?
Paralyzing when you love reading and you love books. Graham Greene has long been one of my favorite English writers. I think possibly my favorite. I find his work complex, beautiful, painful. The prose is a pleasure to read. And this story is one of the few books I've read several times. And I think, like all good love stories, it's based on misjudgments, misunderstanding, painful misinterpretations of each other, people finding out at exactly the wrong moment.
It was made into a film too, wasn't it?
It's been made. Yes, it was made into a film. I think it might have been 2 films. I think there was an old film before.
But you know what, Colin? You were not late to the party of reading. I was reading about you that you actually, as a kid, would play hooky from school just so you could go and read. Is that true?
It's long been an obsession of mine.
Why? What
storytelling, disappearing into another world.
Yeah, I get that.
It's partly pure escapism. If you feel your own life is humdrum.
Did you feel your own life was humdrum?
I found school humdrum. And I was being taught things that just didn't really catch my interest, and my mind would wander.
Algebra, maybe?
You're on the right lines.
Yes,
exactly.
yes.
And numbers didn't really quite do it.
Yeah, me too.
So to be taken through some extraordinary narrative, whether it's something to do with the ancient Greeks or just sort of modern fairy tale, fantasy stuff, I find it beautiful. And then you can import some of that into your own life. It's very interesting how you discover truths. It's not just a universe that doesn't exist that you're going to. It does interpret your own world.
What's the secret to reading it? I mean, to do actually standing in front of a microphone?
I don't know. I did this many years ago when they didn't, they basically didn't have all the technology that they have now. And if you made a single mistake, you went back 5 pages.
Whoa.
And then you had to go again without a single mistake. Now you don't have to do that. You do have to try to get a run at it. I think you have to just surrender a little bit. I think it would be very easy to be overly precise and punctilious about how you want to do it. And if you get then it gets rather dry if you do that. I think you have to get a flow and embrace the shape of it, you know.
And the idea of having very good actors do it is what?
Well, funnily enough, very good actors often are very bad at this. These, I've heard, are brilliant. It was quite intimidating when I'd just been told that Nicole Kidman had been genius in her delivery, and that Annette Bening would take a lot of beating. And,
But feel no pressure, Mr. Firth.
Absolutely.
Was it
Now you're on your
difficult?
own.
Was it difficult for
It's
you?
very difficult. It's difficult. Some people warn you, you know, be prepared because it's a marathon and you're in an airless room.
Right.
Hour after hour after hour, alone with these characters, with your own ideas, and that's wonderful. But it is also hugely challenging, I think.
And you're playing all the characters. You're reading all the characters.
Yes, and people take a different approach on that. Some people characterize them very strongly and inhabit them as actors and completely take on a transformation for each character. And other people argue that that's probably going to interfere with the listener's experience, and it's better just to suggest them. It vastly depends on the culture that you're doing. I mean, if it's you know, if you're doing an Italian novel in translation, you have to decide how you're going to do the Italian peasant and the Italian king.
Well, you can speak Italian, Mr. Firth.
I don't think I can speak it quite well enough to do a...
He learned it for all the right reasons, to convince
Yeah, well,
That's right, it was a
his
courtship.
to-be wife.
Yes,
It was
well,
a
your
parents.
wife is
Yes.
Italian. Yeah, I love that story. But we can see how you do. We can go on audible.com and hear the end of the affair for ourselves. But before you leave the table, Dame Daphne's in the green room, and I saw the two of you talking. I had no idea that you all have a connection of sorts.
Well, I didn't know she would be here, so it's an extraordinary, unexpected treat for me. About 3 years ago, I'd taken my family for a trip to Kenya. And we had the privilege of going to the elephant orphanage in Nairobi. And we were so moved by it.
By what you saw.
By what we saw, that we decided to support the foundation.
And you have adopted an elephant?
Yes, we got each of my sons adopted an elephant, and you get updates and a photograph and news of the foundation. And I think what they do is vital, and it's overpoweringly moving.
Yes, I
an
know.
encounter with these babies.
I could tell talking to her and reading her book, but I thought it was cool. Charlie, they were in the green room saying, he goes, hey, I have a couple of elephants from your place. They had no idea that the two were going to be here. See what we do at CBS This Morning?
Everything.
Everything is good. We'll take that. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
very
Great to
much.
see you.
Great to see you.